The alien warship hovered over the battlefield, scanning the scorched ground below. Smoke rose from broken machines and burned-out bunkers. The war between humans and the Krell Dominion had ended only hours ago. The Krell had won, at least that's what they believed. Inside the ship, Dr. Tharnell adjusted his breathing mask. He was the lead bio-researcher of the Krell. His team had collected hundreds of dead bodies from different alien species before. But this was the first time they had a human corpse. "Bring it in," Tharnell said, tapping on his holopad. The body was carried into the cold lab, laid flat on a crystal slab table. The human soldier looked young. His armor was cracked. A deep wound cut across his chest. Tharnell looked at his assistants. "We begin dissection now." The lab lights dimmed to surgical blue. Sharp robotic arms extended from the ceiling. Scanners began humming. One of the assistants, a female Krell named Vera, hesitated. "Sir, is it safe to touch it?" "They say humans release poison when they die." Tharnell laughed dryly. "Rumors, superstition. Their biology is strange, yes, but they are not cursed." The first incision was made across the chest. Thick red blood oozed out, but it didn't dry. It stayed warm. Tharnell narrowed his eyes. "The blood is still active. Strange. Begin cell analysis." The machines zoomed into the blood. What they saw shocked the entire team. These cells are moving, still dividing, still healing. "That's not possible," another assistant shouted. "Check again." The scanners confirmed it. The human's body was still fighting to heal itself even after death. Vera stepped back. "Doctor, it's regenerating." Tharnell's breath slowed. He reached toward the heart. It had stopped beating, but the tissue around it pulsed slightly, as if it was trying to wake up again. "We need brain analysis," Tharnell whispered. They lifted the skull cap carefully. The human brain glowed slightly under the scan. There were electrical sparks inside it. "That brain is still alive," said one assistant, stunned. "No," Tharnell whispered. "This man is not fully dead. His body is waiting." Suddenly, a flash of light burst from the scanner. The machine sparked and shut down. The brainwaves had overloaded the equipment. Tharnell stepped back, shaken. "I've never seen this in any species, not even the deathworms of Zunlar." Vera looked pale. "Should we stop?" "No," Tharnell said. "We go deeper." The lights flickered. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. Everyone could feel a strange pressure, like being watched. Then, without warning, the human's eye opened. Everyone froze. The human looked at them, not confused, not angry, just calm. His voice was quiet but deep. "You really thought I was dead?" The Krell team panicked. Alarm screamed, weapons were raised. The human didn't move, he just smiled. "I heal fast, too fast, I guess," he said, sitting up slowly. "Nice lab, smells like fear." "Stay down," Tharnell shouted. The human tilted his head. "You don't know what you're dealing with." He stood, his wounds closing before their eyes. One gash sealed within seconds. His skin reformed, muscle twisted back in place. "This isn't science," Vera whispered. "This is dark magic." The human shook his head. "No magic, just Earth biology." The lights exploded. Darkness covered the lab. When emergency lights flickered back on, the human was gone. Only one sentence remained, burned into the screen. "We are what your gods warned you about." The Krell security chamber was sealed with 10 layers of plasma-reinforced metal. No creature had ever escaped from it. Inside, the human sat calmly, legs crossed, as if he were meditating. But the guards outside weren't calm at all. They kept their rifles pointed at the door, ready to fire. Dr. Tharnell stood behind a thick glass wall surrounded by scientists, engineers, and 2 generals. He looked pale. His hands trembled as he reviewed the footage from the dissection lab. Every moment replayed, the healing wounds, the glowing brain, and finally, the human opening his eyes like he was just waking from a nap. "He's not dead. He was never dead," Tharnell whispered. We tried to dissect a living human, and he let us, General Korg growled. Why didn't he attack? Tharnell answered with fear in his voice. Because he didn't need to. He wanted us to see. The room went silent. Suddenly, the lights in the security chamber dimmed. Inside, the human opened his eyes again. This time his pupils glowed faintly blue. A camera zoomed in. His heart rate was steady. His breathing, slow and calm. But the readings were impossible. He's adapting, said Vera, shocked. His heartbeat just synchronized with our artificial gravity field. What? Another technician said. That's not even biologically… Wait, he's mimicking the ship's systems? On the screen, the human smiled, as if he could hear them. Then he stood up, and the walls of the chamber trembled. No weapons, he said. His voice somehow came through the speakers, though no mic was active. I'm not here to hurt anyone, but I want answers, General Korg hissed. You want answers? We captured you. The human turned toward the camera. No, you found me. There's a difference. Everyone stared, confused. Tharnell leaned closer to the mic. What are you, really? The human looked thoughtful. Then he walked toward the wall. The sensors around him exploded in static. And then… he did the unthinkable. He pressed his hand on the energy field and walked through it. Impossible, someone screamed. That's pure plasma shielding. But the human didn't melt, didn't burn. He walked through like it was nothing. He stepped into the observation room. The guards tried to raise their weapons but couldn't. Their hands shook. Some dropped their guns. One collapsed, weeping. The human glanced at Tharnell. I'm not angry, just curious. What were you hoping to find in me? Tharnell backed away. We wanted to understand and how your kind resists death. The human nodded. We don't resist it. We've just accepted it too many times. So our bodies stopped listening. What does that even mean? Virai asked. He looked at her gently. It means evolution is not a straight line. Earth broke us 1,000 times, and each time we rebuilt stronger, in pain, in war, in love, in hunger. He turned to the others. You think you know biology, but we're what happens when biology fights back. The room fell into silence. No one dared breathe, and then he collapsed. Alarms rang. Medics rushed forward, but the human was already sitting up again, laughing. Sorry, he said. Forgot to mention, I sometimes reboot. The Krell High Council chamber had never hosted chaos, until now. Dozens of alien scientists, officers, and commanders argued, loudly. Holograms of the human floated above the round table, displaying brain scans, genetic readings, and bizarre hormone data. One report blinked red. Biological disruption detected in female crew. Commander Ratal slammed his fist down. Enough! Explain why 5 of our top female researchers are on forced medical leave. Dr. Tharnell stood up, sweat dripping down his scales. Because they were affected. By what? By the human scent. The chamber fell silent. You're saying a smell made our scientists ill? Not ill, Tharnell corrected. Changed. He tapped a control. A hologram appeared of Vera, one of the lead researchers. She was in quarantine, eyes glowing faintly, skin changing color, soft violet now. Her voice on the recording was shaky. I had dreams, nesting dreams. I don't even have a womb. I felt drawn to him. My biology rewrote itself overnight. Gasps echoed around the chamber. Lies, one council member shouted. This is manipulation, human trickery. No, Tharnell whispered. The data doesn't lie. His pheromones are not like ours, they're adaptive. They find the nearest compatible species and trigger dormant genes, reproduction systems, hormonal shifts. General Korg barked. Then he's a weapon. Another scientist spoke up. If he is, he's the most efficient weapon we've ever encountered. At that moment, the door burst open. Vera walked in, unauthorized. Guards moved, but she raised a trembling hand. "I'm fine," she said quietly. "I'm not dangerous." Her eyes scanned the room. "But you need to know what's happening." Tharnell stepped forward. "Vera, this is against protocol." "I don't care." She looked at the council. It wasn't just biology, it was emotional. Something in me felt seen, not just altered, but understood. One councilwoman hissed, "You're defending the specimen?" Vera nodded slowly. "Yes." Whispers erupted. "She's compromised. Emotionally bonded." "This is contamination," but Tharnell frowned. "Or maybe it's compatibility." General Korg snapped, "We're not here to date the human, we are here to contain him." A quiet beep echoed through the chamber. All screens flickered. A new message appeared. "Would you like me to explain myself?" Everyone turned to the central display. The human appeared on the hologram, sitting calmly in his containment room. "You've been talking about me like I'm some kind of virus," he said. "That's not fair." "Then tell us," said Tharnell. "What are you doing to us?" The human smiled gently. "I'm not doing anything. You're just reacting." "To what?" someone demanded. "Touch, proximity, scent, emotion. You were never immune. You just never met anyone who triggered it." One scientist whispered, "You're awakening our evolutionary shadows." The human raised an eyebrow. "Or maybe I'm just reminding you what connection feels like." The chamber was silent. 1. General finally muttered, "This could destabilize entire species, civilizations, reproduction laws, alliances." The human nodded. "Or maybe it could finally unite them." The Krell Science Vault was protected by living metal and mind-sensitive locks. Only 5 minds in the galaxy were authorized to enter. Today, one more mind was added. A human's. Dr. Tharnell stood at the edge of the observation dome staring, down at the human sitting calmly inside a glowing sphere. A helmet made of psychic lenses hovered above his head. Krell engineers, telepaths, and neuromappers gathered in silence. They were about to do something never done before, scan a human's living brain with full psychic depth. "Begin phase 1, Tharnell ordered. The machine hummed to life. The helmet lowered. It didn't touch the human, it only hovered. The readings began. First came brainwaves, erratic, fast, impossible to measure. "He's dreaming?" one assistant said. "But he's awake," another whispered. Then the psychic pulses hit the scanners, and they screamed. The machines showed images not from the lab, but from Earth's past, a volcano erupting, a mother screaming in a burning city, a child with a stone spear facing a beast 10 times his size. "What is this?" General Korg asked, shocked. "These aren't memories," Tharnell said slowly. "These are ancestral imprints." "Genetic memory?" a technician asked. "That's just theory." The human opened his eyes and said softly, "Not theory, truth." The helmet buzzed louder. Suddenly, one of the Krell telepaths collapsed. Blood trickled from her nose. "Too loud, too bright," she whispered, then passed out. The human looked up. "I told you, my mind isn't safe." The machines couldn't keep up. Code broke down. Neural pathways glitched. Their best AI. Assistant froze, then whispered in perfect Earth English, "Run." "Shut it down," Tharnell yelled, but the system refused. The human's brainwaves were now controlling the scanner. "What kind of brain does this?" someone shouted. The human stood, removing the helmet himself. No burns. No pain. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "Your machines weren't ready." Tharnell stepped forward, afraid to ask the question, but he did. "What are you?" The human took a long breath. "We are memory. We are instinct. We are pain and survival, pressed into flesh." He pointed at the broken AI system. "You rely on tech to think. We rely on fire, blood and scars. One Krell telepath dared to speak, holding her shaking head. You think it in fear and chaos. The human smiled. Exactly. That's how we lived, that's how we learn. And your brain? Tharnell asked. Why does it fight back? The human looked serious now. Because every time someone tried to control it, whether alien, machine, or tyrant, it learned to resist. He stepped down from the platform. Earth didn't give us peace, it gave us storms, and we became the thunder. Across the galaxy, warning lights began to flash. Not just on Krell ships, not just in military outposts. Every species that had contact with the human was reporting anomalies. In the Varn Dominion, their starborn priests began hearing voices in their dreams, speaking in the human's language. On the insectoid Herquin world, warriors developed new limbs overnight, limbs shaped like human arms. And on a cold gas giant where no fire should burn, the flames appeared after a single human stepped off his ship. Back in the Krell capital, chaos brewed in the military chamber. General Korg stood over a map filled with pulsing red alerts. Is he infecting them? He shouted. Dr. Tharnell was pale. No, not infecting, triggering. Their bodies are reacting to him like a survival alarm. They're evolving. Another general shouted, That makes him a biological weapon. Or, whispered Vera, stepping into the chamber, he's a gift. One we don't understand yet. Eyes turned to her. Everyone knew she had spent the most time near the human. Some even whispered she had changed because of it. She continued, Our own people are showing new genes activating, traits from deep within our ancient code. Some are getting stronger, some smarter. One Krell even grew wings. The room went silent. The human had done nothing but breathe their air, and aliens were becoming more. The council demanded answers. They called an emergency summit. At the center of it all sat the human, calm as always in a room lined with guards and scanners. A council member shouted, Are you here to dominate us? The human chuckled. No, I'm just here, existing. And your worlds are reacting. But why? Tharnell asked. Why does your biology change others? He looked at them quietly. Because we are pressure-born. Explain, said Vera. The human stood slowly. Earth never gave us peace. We had to fight for food, for fire, for love. Our species cracked bones just to get to the marrow. He touched his chest. So our bodies learned to adapt. But not just to our world, to all worlds. That's what your people feel when I walk in. Not a weapon, a mirror. You see what you could become. Some scientists leaned forward, fascinated. Others leaned back, terrified. Then came the final question, spoken by a quiet old counselor who had been silent until now. If you're not here to fight, not here to conquer, then what do you want? The human smiled, sad, soft. I want someone to stop being afraid of us and start learning. 3 layers of security, 5 guards at every entrance, a neural lock on the door, coded to 6 different species. And still, the human walked out. No alarms, no resistance, no broken walls. He simply walked past them. Every guard lowered their weapon the moment he looked into their eyes. Dr. Tharnell rushed to the containment chamber, heart racing. The room was empty, just a faint scent of earth soil and ozone. How? He whispered. Where did he go? General Korg shouted. Find him, now. But it was already too late. The human wasn't hiding. He was waiting, right inside the High Council Hall. The guards raised their weapons. Don't, he said calmly. The weapons froze, not jammed, frozen solid, encased in crystal. I'm not here to fight, I'm here to speak. Council members stood from their seats, fear in their eyes. The human looked around. I've seen your weapons. I've read your data. I've heard. Your leaders speak of war and control. But I came to offer a choice. Tharnell arrived, pushing through the crowd. How did you escape the chamber? I didn't escape, the human replied. It opened. Your systems didn't trap me. They recognized me. Recognized, Korg hissed, as something older, something closer to the code that built life. Murmurs filled the room. The human walked to the center. Your species are proud. You've built great cities, ships that fly across galaxies. But you're still scared of one thing, change. A councilwoman growled. You're dangerous. Only, if you're afraid to grow. He looked around, meeting every alien gaze. I am not a god. I am not a monster. I am a choice. You can lock me up and study me forever, or you can walk with me. He extended a hand. No one moved. But then, Vera stepped forward. She placed her hand in his. Everyone gasped. Nothing exploded. Nothing burned. Instead, the lights in the hall changed color, soft, natural blue. Every monitor flickered once, then stabilized. A peaceful hum filled the air. Vera looked back at her people. I feel calm, she said softly. I feel alive. The council was silent. General Korg turned to Tharnell. Well, what do we do? Tharnell didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the human, on the silent truth standing in the middle of the galaxy's most powerful room. He whispered, We listen. The Krell Genetics Archive was the most secure vault in the galaxy. Inside were gene maps from over 600,000 known species. Some were extinct, some were gods. And now, in its deepest chamber, they were decoding the human. Dr. Tharnell stood beside, the head archivist staring at the swirling strands of DNA on the holodisplay. It stretched endlessly, more complex than anything they had ever seen. This can't be natural, whispered the archivist. There are too many dormant sequences. What do they do? Tharnell asked. The system blinked. Unlocked traits. Skin, adaptive to radiation. Lungs, ready for underwater breathing. Muscle fibers, designed for planetary gravity shifts. Bone structure can regenerate when broken. Eyes, once. Capable of night vision in extreme dark. Neural links, unknown. Energy absorption, unknown. One strand labeled simply, Godfire. Everyone went silent. This isn't evolution, the archivist said. This is preparation for everything. General Korg, watching from behind, stepped forward. Engineered? Tharnell's voice cracked. No, worse. This code suggests they engineered themselves. Across the room, monitors flashed a new signal. The human had arrived. No guards blocked his path. No scanners tried to stop him. He stepped into the vault like he had always belonged there. You read it? He asked. Tharnell nodded. Yes, it's not possible. But it's real. The human walked to the gene map and smiled. It's Earth's gift or curse. We weren't made to survive on one world. We were made to survive everywhere. He pointed at the Godfire sequence. That part? That's our last line. The part that wakes only when there's nothing left to lose. Vera, standing quietly behind them, asked, Have humans ever used it? The human's face changed. A deep sadness touched his eyes. Once, the room chilled. And what happened? Tharnell asked. The human looked down. We ended a war. But we ended ourselves too. Took hundreds of years to rebuild. So now, we don't wake that part unless we have to. Korg stepped forward. Then, why are you telling us this? Because now you know, the human replied. You can choose to fear us or evolve with us. Tharnell turned to the council. He's offering us a future we never imagined. A future where we don't conquer each other but survive together. But at what cost? Korg growled. The human stepped closer. The only cost is pride. A soft sound echoed from the DNA display. The strands began shifting, merging with Krell samples. Your people are already changing, the human said. Not because I forced it, but because your bodies finally saw something worth becoming. Vera looked at her hands. Her skin had light patterns now, glowing faintly, beautifully. I feel stronger, she whispered. But also, More kind. The human nodded. That's what it means to be human. Not just to survive, but to remember what it's for. The council remained quiet for a long time, then one by one they stood, not in fear, but in understanding. Dr. Tharnell looked at the man who had changed everything. "We thought you were broken," he said softly. The human smiled. "No, just unfinished."